Hey there, Political Science 100. I'm Steve Nichols. I'm your professor for the class, and I wanted to just make a quick video that basically amounts to what we would do on the first day of class if this were an in-person class. Going over the syllabus, talking about how the class is going to go, class policies, expectations, grades, all that stuff. I want to get that out of there. So here's the syllabus, and I've emailed this to you. Hopefully you've already looked at it, but I want to go over it in some depth. There's my email, obviously, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. It's really the only way to get a hold of me over the summer. And then a little description about what we're going to talk about in the class and the class objectives. Here's the textbook, The Logic of American Politics, the 10th edition. I love this book. I used this book for many years, and then I went away from it for various reasons, but now I'm back, and I'm very glad to be back using this book again. It actually has an analytical framework that runs through the entirety of the text. There is a logic to how the political system works, despite what it may seem at times. And the logic has to do with institutions and what they're good at and what they're not good at, and what is incentivized and not incentivized in American politics. And an overarching framework throughout the text is the problem that all societies face, and that of collective action. How do societies produce collective goods and get people to contribute to those collective goods without free riding? How do you coordinate the efforts of hundreds of millions of people that's necessary to do all the complicated things that societies do in the modern world? And so those kinds of big picture thematic elements run through the text, and that's why I like it. The 10th edition is the one we're using. There are obviously editions 1 through 9. There may even now be an 11th edition that just came out. But I'm basing what I've got here on the 10th edition, so that's what I'm expecting you to have. Please do get the text. And I'll talk about this when I get to the exams, but you won't do well on the exams if you haven't read the text. As far as the pace of the class, it is entirely online and asynchronous, meaning there is no real-time interaction. But it is not self-paced. There is a schedule. We're going to follow that schedule. I'm going to outline it below. For every topic that we cover, there'll be a chapter to read, a lecture to watch, often broken up into 2 parts. And then for each big picture section, there's an additional article that's posted on Kruger courses for you to read. There'll be discussion forums, sometimes centering on a single topic, sometimes involving multiple topics. And the lectures will be up for you to watch throughout the term. I want you to go through them as we progress, according to the schedule, but they're also there for you to go back and review if you'd like in advance of exams, for example. Those discussion forums will be open for the days in which they're assigned. After that, you can't participate in the discussions anymore. I'm not literally going to close them because I want them to be available to you to go back and use for exam review. But as far as adding new input, at 8 p.m. on the day that is the last day of that discussion, that's when the forums are considered closed. We'll talk about the exams and the forum discussions in some detail in just a second. I know that you're really taking this class because you want to become better informed citizens in the American democratic process. Obviously, that's the most important thing. But also, I guess it's true that the class also fulfills the DC and the DG lower division graduation requirements. So that's a happy coincidence. And to do that, though, you have to pass the class. And here's what passing the class entails. Basically, we're going to have 3 exams and our online discussion forums. Each of those things, the 2 midterm exams and the final, and the discussion participation are all worth 100 points. Those 100 points, you will earn a percentage of those, anywhere from none of it, which I can't even imagine, to 100%, which sometimes people do, and various points in between. And those percentages will translate into letter grades as outlined below. I hope that's pretty straightforward. At the end of the class, I'll go back and I will have tallied all your points. Kruger Courses actually does that for me, so I will see a number. And if you end up at 358 or 359, which technically is a B+, I'll look at how things went for you over the course of the class. If you did things like, if you improved over the course of the course, maybe the first exam wasn't strong, but then you kind of got a sense of what I'm looking for, and you did much better on the second and third exams, I'll probably bump you up. I will make that call individually for each and every one of you, and if I feel that a bump is justified, I'll give it, and if I don't, I won't. And if you're not close, I certainly won't, and no amount of lobbying me will make any difference. Let's talk about the exams. So all of the exams are essays, and you will have all of the questions for the essays in advance. In the Google Courses page, which we'll get to after I go through the syllabus, there's a section for announcements, and I'm going to post, there will be an announcements thread for each exam where I post the actual exam questions. So you will have all the questions, all the potential questions in advance of the exam. I'm not trying to surprise you in any way. When it comes time to take the exam, there's a 2-day window in which you will do so. One of those exam questions that you already have will be randomly selected for you. You'll go to the exam button on the Google Courses page and you'll click on it to open up the exam. And when you do, one of those questions will be randomly selected for you. You will all not get the same question, and you will then have 90 minutes to write the exam. My thinking behind doing it this way is that there's no way, if you wait until you see the exam question and then you go to the video lecture and then you start reading the textbook and then you read the discussion forum and the article and you try and put all that together, there is no way to do all that in 90 minutes and write a good exam. You have to have prepared ahead of time. And it's up to you if you want to take a chance and just ignore one section and hope that's not the question that comes up on the exam. If it does, you're screwed. The point I want, the whole point of this approach is to get you to prepare for every possible exam question, and then it really doesn't matter which one is chosen. You will have prepared for all of them, and if it were me, I would prepare answers, maybe fully fleshed out answers, at least good, solid, well-developed outlines for every single question. So that when I saw the question that was selected for me, I plop that outline into the exam field and I flesh it out with detail and good to go. At the end of 90 minutes, whatever you've written down will be submitted for you, and that is your exam. What I want on the exam is for you to demonstrate your understanding of the material in the class. The material in the class is the lectures on the lecture videos, the textbook chapter, and the additional reading that goes with each section, about which there will have been a forum conversation. Elements from all of that need to be in each exam answer. And I'm going to make sure that every exam question that is possible will have some part in it that is designed to tap into each of those things: the lecture video, the textbook chapter, and the additional reading and forum conversation. So a high quality A exam answer has to draw on all those things. So you can't do well in this class without reading the textbook, without doing the extra reading besides the text, the articles posted on Google Courses. In other words, you can't just watch the lecture videos and that's it, and just spit back to me what I said on the lecture video and call that your answer. I'm well aware of what I recorded on my lectures and what's in the textbook and where the two overlap and where they don't. And so I'm going to be looking for that when I grade the exams. So again, you'll have 90 minutes to complete the exam, and that'll be the format for all 3 of them. I will post an announcement about the first exam as it approaches, with more detail about what I'm looking for, and just kind of reinforce what I just said, but that's basically how it's going to go. On the discussion forum, so the point of the discussion forum is to dive more deeply into a current example of some of the issues or controversies or the substance of what we're talking about in each section of the class. And so for each forum, I will select several of you to be the discussants in that forum, and you will carry on the conversation. I want to make this very clear, and I bolded it here and italicized it here. If you are not assigned to a forum, you do not have to participate in that forum discussion. For each discussion forum, I will again post something in the announcement section of the class, and I will say, for the forum conversation on civil rights, the following people are the discussants. And I will name anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 people, depending on how big the discussion is going to be. Those people whom I mention in the forum, it is those people and only those people who are required to participate in the discussion forum. If you're not selected, you do not need to participate. I'm not going to stop you from participating if you want to. If you want to jump in, that's fine. But that's not part of your forum assignment. Your forum assignments are when you are specifically assigned. And I'm beating this to death because every time I've done this, I get a lot of emails from students who are confused, who think that maybe they're supposed to post in every single forum discussion. You're not. So I hope that's clear. I get the feeling that in other online courses, maybe that's how it goes because this seems to be confusing to people. But again, you are to participate in the forums to which you're assigned. And that's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. the point, so for each discussion forum, there will be a question prompt, and it's often a multi-part question prompt. Sometimes some are pretty big, some are pretty complicated. And what you are to do, if you're assigned as a discussant in that forum, is to weigh in on and respond to those prompts, obviously. And I'm looking for an actual discussion in which we engage with each other. I want you to address the prompt with your take on the issue based on not just your opinion, as fine as that may be, but based on your understanding from the information in the lecture video, the text, and the reading. And weigh in on the prompt. And then others, I want you to do likewise if you're assigned to that particular forum, and also engage with each other. Have a back and forth. Oh, I agree with you in this point, but I'm not sure I see this one the same way, that kind of thing. And I will be reading every single post that is posted in those forums. I will not respond to every single one necessarily. I will respond to a lot of them, and I will sort of comment and referee and redirect where I feel like I should. And so as far as the 100 points of your grade for forum participation, as long as you participate in the forums to which you're assigned, and you'll all probably get assigned to maybe at least 2, probably 3 different forums. As long as you participate in each one that you're assigned to, as long as your participation is informed, that's really all I ask. You don't need to dazzle me with your forum conversation. You just need to show that you know what you're talking about. Now, sometimes people contribute to forums in ways that really don't do much for the conversation, don't necessarily show any understanding. A forum post that says, "Oh, that's a really good point you make there. I totally agree with you." I mean, that's nice, I guess, but it doesn't really contribute to the conversation in any kind of meaningful way. So that's not very helpful. The other thing I really want to be careful about in the forums is that we keep things civil and respectful. We're going to talk about some pretty controversial topics in this class. It's politics, and we're in a highly polarized political era. And it's fine if we have strong opinions, but those opinions need to be expressed respectfully. And any kind of forum exchange that seems aggressive or disrespectful or rude to me will definitely have a negative effect on your forum participation grade. Not that I anticipate that. I've been teaching online for a long time, and I rarely ever see that kind of stuff, but I just want to make clear that that's the case. And I guess I just covered class conduct in that last comment. It is the case, I think, that sometimes there's a tendency to say things online that you probably wouldn't say if you were speaking to someone face-to-face. So I just want to be careful about that. Again, I'm not expecting any problems on those lines, but just so we're all on the same page. And then lastly, academic honesty. For various reasons, I catch more plagiarism in my online classes than I ever do in my in-person classes. And I think it's because we're already completely in an online environment anyway. You're already on the internet, so the internet is right there for you to go to as a source for other stuff. I can tell you that it's extremely easy to spot writing that is not student writing. In part because the questions I'm asking in both the forum conversations and on the exams are very specific. So there's not going to be an online source that answers the question in exactly the way I'm asking it using the sources I'm referring to. So it's a huge red flag when other sources or other, when what's posted isn't really responding to what I'm asking. That's a pretty big red flag. And also the level of writing, the quality of writing is also usually a pretty good indicator that this was professionally written, not student writing. No offense. And when I spot it, I have to report it. It's really as simple as that. I submit a report to the needed students. Here's what I found. And then from that point on, that person is swept up into the academic misconduct process with the Dean of Students office. And that's no fun. Please, if you find yourself tempted, an exam is coming up. So let's say there's two hours left to take the exam, and you've had to work and you didn't expect to, and you're not prepared, and you're panicking, and you're tempted to Google why we have a two-party system, and whatever Google tells you, or Chat GPT, we'll talk about that in a second. Put that in your answer and just hope I don't notice it. I'm going to notice it. Please, instead of doing that, reach out to me. Tell me what's going on. I'm a pretty reasonable guy. We can probably work something out. But if you submit something that is not your work, I will catch it, and when I catch it, then however reasonable or not I am, there's no saving that. But then then it has to be reported to the students. So please don't put yourself in that position. And I will tell you that in virtually every online class I've taught in the last 10 years, at least one person tries it, and it's not fun. I already mentioned AI and Chat GPT. Please do not resort to that for your forum posts or your exam essays. It's pretty clever. I've used it. I've got some experience with it. It's also just as easy to spot an AI-generated answer and know that a student didn't write this. And for one thing, I'm asking in my questions, in my exam questions, and in the forum questions for that matter, you're supposed to draw from very specific materials and use those materials to answer the exam question and to respond to the forum post. ChatGPT can talk about why we have a two-party system, but it's not going to do so from the standpoint of the specific author that we're talking about in the forum and that should be mentioned, the Lee Drutman essay that should be mentioned in terms of the reading. AI can't do that. And so when an answer is very fleshed out but misses that stuff, that's a big red flag that the student didn't write this. And I will turn that in to the Dean of Students in the same way that I would turn in a material that had obviously been gotten from Google. So again, please don't do any of that stuff. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for me. Again, if you run into any kind of issues where you're afraid that you can't get something done in time, just reach out to me. Let's have a conversation and we'll probably work something out. Okay, the actual schedule for the class. We'll get going on July 10th, Monday. The first discussion, so the course introduction video is what you're watching right now. That's kind of surreal, kind of meta. The only discussion forum that everyone should participate in is this first one, where you tell us all a little bit about yourself and your general impression of politics. That's it. And I'm doing this because I just want to get discussion going about politics, and I also want to learn something about you as human beings. So the biggest downside to online classes is that we never meet face to face, and so I don't really get a sense of you as people. And so this is kind of the one chance we get to learn what you like to do for a hobby, or tell me about your pets, or whatever you want to tell us. So then, starting on Monday as well, then we'll get into the actual substance of things. As you can see, each section of the class has 2 days devoted to it. And each section of the class, as laid out here, involves a textbook chapter. Chapter 1, for example, on July 10th and 11th, a video lecture that's about that same thing, the logic of American politics. And this is where things kind of can vary from section to section. This first three topics in the class, the logic of American politics, the Constitution, and federalism, there's going to be one reading, this one about climate change, and one discussion forum for those 3 sections. Because climate change and the fact that climate change basically functions as a prisoner's dilemma taps into issues that are relevant to the logic of American politics, the Constitution, and federalism. So you'll have a good number of days to chime in this discussion forum if you're assigned. Remember, if you're not assigned, you do not need to chime in on that one. And so then, however, when we get to civil liberties, we're going to have a specific reading just about civil liberties, this one about privacy rights, and a discussion forum just about that reading. So it'll only be open for those 2 days. And the same for civil rights. We'll have a specific reading about air pollution and systemic racism, and a discussion forum on exactly those points, and that'll close on July 19th. So sometimes the discussion forum is about a single topic, sometimes it relates to multiple topics in the text and in the lectures. Just depends on what we're reading and how broad or how narrow the thing is. Then we'll have 2 days to take the exam. The exam window will open up, the first exam on July 20th at 12:01 a.m. And you can take it then if you want. If you're really anxious and you want to get going and get it out of the way, the exam window will close on the 21st of July at 11:59 p.m. You have up until then to take it. If you want to wait till 11 o'clock at night on the 21st to do your exam, that's fine by me. It'll close at 11:59, just get it done by then. I don't care when you do it in that time, just as long as you do it in that time. And then we'll pick up again. We'll look into the institutions of government, Congress, the presidency, bureaucracy, and the courts, as outlined here, chapters in the text. Here again, there's one reading that is really about the court, but actually taps into issues that pertain to all of these institutions of government. So we're going to have one big discussion forum about all of it. And so that's the only forum we're going to have between July 22nd and July 29th. If you're assigned, you'll participate in that forum. If not, you don't need to. That reminds me of a point I should have made already, but I'll make it now. So we're going to have a big discussion forum that addresses the interplay of the institutions of American government, the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Some group of you, of the 22 of you in the class, there are probably, I would guess, maybe 7 or 8 will be assigned discussion forum. those 7 or 8 people will carry on this discussion. That doesn't mean that the other 15 or 14 of you don't have to be involved in this at all. That doesn't mean you don't have to follow the discussion. You should follow the discussion forum whether or not you're assigned. You should read the posts. You should read the article that it's about. You should understand the issues that are raised there, because I'm going to expect to see that understanding reflected in your exam answer. So again, let me say, I'll repeat it. You have to participate in the discussion forum. You have to contribute, actually add dialogue to the forum if you're assigned. If you're not assigned, you don't have to do that, but you should follow it, because you'll need to know what was teased out about this article that pertains to the branches of government in your exam answer. Whichever one of these answers, whichever one of these questions you get in your exam about the Congress, presidency, bureaucracy, or courts, some aspect of this article in this discussion will pertain to that exam answer, and I'm going to expect to see it in the exam answer. Okay, hope that's clear. And then the final bit of the class will take on political parties, interest groups, the media, public opinion, and elections. Parties and interest groups will have their own specific discussion forums, both of these. And then the last 3 topics in class, the news media, public opinion, and elections, will have a single discussion forum, and it'll be about the conspiracy theories that pertain to all of these things posed to American democracy. And then we'll take the final exam on August 11th and 12th, and you'll be done. I hope that's clear. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email if anything's not clear. I want to flip over to the class Google course page for a second and just sort of guide you through that. Yeah, I hope you've looked at this already, and I'm sure you're quite familiar with how these things go. But here's the opening page. The syllabus is available there, which we just looked at, but it's also there as well. Assignments amount to the 3 exams, which will become open to you on the dates in which they're available. So July 20th and 21st, July 30th to 31st, August 11th to 12th. Your forum participation, you don't really need to click on that. That just describes your forum participation, what I'm looking for, and there it is. You can see how you're doing, get your grades here, obviously. The main action, though, for this page is in the modules. And so I just want to take a quick look at what's in there. Here's the introductory stuff, some resources about the textbook, some tech support resources in case you're running into tech issues, accessibility and disability support services, campus academic integrity and student conduct policies, pretty important. Other kinds of support, academic and non-academic support, if you feel like you need some, it's there for you. You can access the exams here. Here's where we get into the actual meat of the class. This is what you're watching right now. Again, kind of meta. Here's the forum that you'll be participating in on July 10th, introducing yourself and telling me what you think about politics. And then for each unit of the class, this is where the material is. Here are the lectures. So you can see we've got one on the logic of American politics. The Constitution is divided into 2 parts, and one on federalism. Here's the additional reading about climate change, and here's the discussion forum. Here's a civil rights and civil liberties grouped together. Same thing, lectures, readings, discussion forums. Here is the stuff for the institutions of government, Congress, presidency, bureaucracy, and courts. Lectures, reading, discussion forum. Parties and interest groups, same thing. And then down here, news media, public opinion, and elections. That's pretty much it. I hope that all makes sense. I think it's all laid out in a pretty organized way. I've tested the links. As far as I can tell, they all work. If you ever run into something where a link isn't opening or something just isn't looking quite right, please let me know, and I will get on it. There's a million things to click and to turn on in setting up these pages, and so it's quite likely that I may have missed one. So if you come across that, please do let me know. And otherwise, I hope you like the class. I usually have a lot of fun with the summer sessions of these classes. Hopefully the discussion forums are lively and interesting, and I hope you get something out of the class. Okay, that's it. Let's get going.